Love on the Spectrum is a show about people with autism who are trying to find partners, and there's an Australian version as well as an American version. There are other shows, fictional shows, that deal with autistic people, for example, The Good Doctor and Atypical. And in these shows, there's your usual plot, problem resolution, and all that type of stuff, which is obviously built around the character with autism. Um, but in this type of show, the fictional show, it's usually a neurotypical who is acting as an autistic. And many of these shows focus on extremely intelligent aspies, on their rigid and eccentric behaviors, and this is sometimes spun as a form of humor. But for me, whether you like this type of fictional portrayal depends on whether you can actually buy into it, which I really can't. For me, the difference between autistics and neurotypicals is such that I find that I cannot buy into a neurotypical acting as an autistic. I see and I feel a difference, and I don't quite enjoy the portrayal. And also the way everything tends to be neatly resolved in these shows, and how some of the reality of autism is airbrushed out, doesn't work for me as a viewer with knowledge of autism, with a family member who has autism. But Love on the Spectrum, on the other hand, is a reality show. So it's about people who actually do have autism, and they are in the series. And it shows us how they are trying to find love. It takes us along on their dating journeys, their daily experiences, their hopes and wishes for the future. When they're interviewed, they would say things like that they would like to find a partner and that they fear the prospect of loneliness. And this is also something that neurotypicals can definitely relate to, as well as the awkwardness and the uncertainty of first dates is common to neurotypicals and autistics. The show is not over the top like many other reality shows. There's no fabulous makeover, fancy restaurants, no showing off, really. In many ways, it's a candid, it's a real type of experience. I think it's meant to expose or to reveal to an audience what life can be like and can feel like for someone who is on the spectrum and also close family. But it's clear that the series is shining a spotlight on high functioning rather than low functioning autism, and it is mostly about relationships between two autistic people rather than between an autistic and a neurotypical. The show involves a few adults on the spectrum, and some of them are still living with their families for obvious reasons. These autistic adults are self aware, intelligent, and really lovely people. And for most of them, their autism prevents them from living fully independent lives in terms of having careers and relationships. When watching the show, you definitely see aspects just immediately of what makes a person autistic. But obviously, it varies from one person to the next. There's, a very formal way of speaking, for example. There's splinter skills. There's sometimes very close family relationships based on love, of course, but also emotional and financial dependence. Some do not have careers as such and lack a dating experience, and not many have close friends. Families and friends tend to adjust to the needs of these autistic adults so that they are able to cope socially. And parents play a big role in the lives of some of them because they still obviously appear to need guidance and support. The way the participants described maybe could be improved. Not too much is said about them. There'll be something like general, like he doesn't like thunderstorms or she enjoys anime. So there could be more depth to the way the personality is indicated at the beginning. What the participants are looking for in a partner is quite interesting. In a way, it kind of highlights how neurotypicals can similarly be finicky, the way autistics are. And you sometimes wonder, what does it all really boil down to when you are looking for a partner? Is it about your checklist, or is it just about finding someone that you can gel with instantly based on things that we cannot even define? There was one individual, I think his name was James, when asked, said he would be completely crushed if he could not find a perfect match, and he was concerned about the financial cost of dating, while another said that she could not accept bad breath, that was a no-no, and another said good hygiene was very important. So there is a relationship coach who comes in to provide advice and support on the dating process. But for me, I feel the support that the coach offers has definite limits. Like they will show the person, this is how you pull out the chair for your date. This is how you introduce yourself. This is how you treat the waiter. But the reality is that once a person is on a date, once they are in a conversation, in an interaction, they are basically on their own. And this is how it is in life. You can support an autistic person, but when it comes to human relationships, these are completely fluid. You have to find your own way. You have to work things out. You may struggle to make a friend or to find a partner. There's a lot of awkwardness, incompatibility, misunderstanding, similar to what you find in normal relationships. And of course, there are also some successes. As the mother of a daughter with autism, I definitely enjoyed watching the series because I could relate to the lives of the people who are autistic on the show and to the way their families relate to them. I identify with these experiences because I've lived them. Um, I do have reservations and I wonder about the dating relationship long term. I wonder where they will lead. I suppose it all depends on the connection between the couples, their ability to make it work long term. But I also think about the practicalities. Where will they live? Will they be independent as a couple? Will they still need financial support? Um, but on the other hand, you have to acknowledge it's also these types of challenges are also true for neurotypical couples. Some parts of the show are quite funny. For example, when Subodh asked his mother when she was going to stop talking. It was his birthday and she was being quite emotional giving a speech, but the tribute for him was simply too long, so he tried to stop her. I asked my daughter about the show. In fact, she was the one who told me about it and she encouraged me to watch it. And this is what she said. This was her feedback. I like the show, Mum, because it reminds me of my own autism. It reminds me how I find it hard to make friends. My favorite on the show is Abby because she has a dog that she loves. She has many stuffed animals. She has interests that I also enjoy, such as animals and swimming and mermaids. So, all in all, my response to the show is positive. As a reality show, it has its limits. Producers will tend to edit bits or shape the narrative so that you don't get a full picture of what life with an autistic is like, what it's like to date them. But it's definitely an interesting and entertaining watch for autistic people, for their families, for neurotypicals. And I think the more we watch stuff like this, the more awareness there is created in society, the more inclusivity there is likely to be.